Welcome to the Templeton Historical Museum virtual tour. The first known inhabitants of the Templeton area were the Selenian Indians. In 1760, Spain occupied the area. In 1820, Mexico took control and divided it into large land grants. In 1844, El Paso de Robles Ranchero was granted to Pedro Narvaez, with the first adobe structure being built just south of the current location of the Templeton High School. In 1857, the property was sold to the Blackburn brothers and a new home was built along that site in 1872. With the knowledge of the temporary termination of the Southern Pacific Extension South, the West Coast Land Company purchased the area in and around Templeton, subdividing the new town of Crocker, which was subsequently changed to the town of Templeton. The town quickly grew, establishing the First Presbyterian Church, followed by the Bethel Lutheran Church. Even created a newspaper, which was basically a press release for the West Coast Land Company. On November 20th, 1886, the first passenger train arrived in Templeton. In 1985, the original Historical Society Committee was formed to try to publish the history of Templeton. In 1988, the property where the current location of the museum is was donated by Carla and Al Wilhoit, which is formerly the site of Jack Allen's lumber yard. After maintaining a kiosk of visitor information about Templeton for the first few years, the house was donated by the First Presbyterian Church in 1994. It was the Hortsman House, built in 1920. The house was moved to its current location in 1995, and after some renovations in 1998, it was opened for visitors. The train depot, having been moved to a number of locations over the years, was donated to the museum in 2001 by Andy Charnley. And because of the hard work of our volunteers, fundraising, and a bequest by Neil Wilhoit, in 2004, the renovation started, and in 2005 the train depot was dedicated. The blacksmith shop adjacent to the museum was purchased in 2013 due to the generosity of the Bob Tulloch Jr. family. It actually houses the original 1918 blacksmith shop constructed by Joe Crescio. A number of artifacts lie within the blacksmith shop, which we'll go over later in this program. The most recent large acquisition was the Rossi Dairies milk bottle that was moved to the museum from its original location on Rossi Road in April of 2018. The bottle was built in 1936 by the Rossi family, and the bottle was donated by the McNamara family and dedicated in 2018, with many of the Rossis attending. When you enter the museum, you'll find a number of artifacts and descriptions with photos and a description of those photos throughout the main room. You'll also find old newspapers that date back to the late 1800s, a number of artifacts that have been donated by community members, as well as you enter into our Templeton schoolroom, which has photos of Templeton schools of yesteryear, including some of the items worn back in the 18 and 1900s, the school desk, as well as yearbooks that go all the way back to 1921, the original first yearbook. And all these are available for the public to view and review. We have a number of donations that were acquired from past sports programs and awards that were given to the past high school teams. Class rings that also include pictures of classrooms of the period of time, graduating classes, as well as a diploma. As you continue the tour through the museum house, there are again many artifacts, research materials, items that have been donated again by people who have lived in Templeton, who the items were in Templeton. So very, very interesting things to make sure you spend plenty of time inside the museum. We have a complete kitchen of a period piece with the spices and the jars and the things that many of your grandparents would remember. And then finally, in the back porch as you depart from the house, you will find a number of items that again reflect the period of uh, maybe when your grandparents or even great grandparents grew up. On entering the renovated train depot, there are a whole nother series of displays, including old post office memorabilia, the original 1909 fire hose cart. We have a large display of train memorabilia, as you might expect, inside our train depot that has been crafted by the Radfords, explaining and showing pictures of what it was like back in the early 1800s. We have our 1926 Model T that has original 600 miles, as well as an original counter from the LT Sharp store that we're quite proud of. Next stop of the museum tour would be the blacksmith shop. Now, it's not normally open to the general public except on special days throughout the year. Once inside the corrugated metal blacksmith shop, you'll notice the original 1918 wood frame of Joe Crescio's blacksmith shop, which was an operating blacksmith shop from 1918 to 1950. In 1950, Bob Tulloch Sr. Purchased the blacksmith shop, and in 1953, he expanded it to its current um, position today. Both Joe Crescio as well as Bob Tulloch Sr. offered a full-service blacksmith shop. This required use of many of the tools in the shop, the anvils, the forge, and many different types of hammers that would make uh, brands for local ranchers, as well as fixing farm implements and any other services that a blacksmith would be needed during that period of time. There are many other artifacts that one will find as you tour the inside of the blacksmith shop. One of the most treasured possessions of the museum is the completely restored 1932 Templeton school bus. The school bus was restored by countless hours of volunteers who went through everything from the bottom of the tires to the top of the leather roof, including fabricating some of the pieces that were missing. Funds for the bus restoration were donated by the community and did not spend any money from the museum's general operation fund. Another piece of equipment that we're quite proud of is a 1934 Ford truck that was purchased in 1941 by the Templeton Fire Department from the Carpinteria Fire Protection District. It remained in service until 1965 when E.C. Loomis of Arroyo Grande purchased it. In 2014, it was returned back to the Templeton Fire Department and donated back to the museum for our restoration. We hope you enjoyed this virtual tour of the Templeton Museum. It takes approximately $10,000 a year to maintain all our operations within the museum. If you'd like to help, you can donate, become a member of a museum, purchase a brick on our Wall of Honor, or purchase one of the many items in our museum store. You could visit the museum Friday, Saturday, or Sunday from 1 to 4